Hello, this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at the Fast Institute of Technology. Another tutorial today on basic design flow using CAD design techniques. I'm going to design a ring and take it through the process so you can see how I work with the various programs to do what I do. I do apologize for the background noise if it comes across. I have an Arius printer running behind me in my office, so it's keeping us company. Alright, so I'm going to open a canvas. My standard canvas is 6 by 6 by 300 ppi. Okay, I want to make sure that my preferences under interface are set to inches, brush ghost, single pixel. And I've got my pencil, my brush ready to work. I'm going to just sketch out a design. In the interest of time, I'll do something symmetrical. For sketching, I tend to use a larger brush, somewhere around 4 or 5. And I use heavy grain, take it quite a ways up. My opacity is going to be somewhere around 60%. Okay. And I will just start to sketch. I'm thinking I would like to have a cushion. Actually, why don't I go ahead and make it 4-sided symmetry? That'll make things even easier this morning. So I'm going to set symmetry in Painter for both vertical and horizontal. You'll recall, hopefully, that when you see me change colors with my brush, it is because I have my stylus set to do this automatically with the front portion of the toggle switch. Okay, that's great. You know, it'll do. I want to do something that has a little bit of a sculptural thing going on, just so I can show you how something like that is handled. I guess what this is basically an apology in advance, saying I'm not trying to make a great design. I don't have time for that here. But I am doing a design from scratch, so I don't have any idea what this is going to be. Contrary to my normal way of working, I should say, I am not using any reference, inspirational or technical, of any kind. I will draw the ring out flat because that's how I draw all of my rings. I am not worried about scale. I'm probably doing a little better job of scale than you guys might offhand, because I draw a lot of rings in here, and so I kind of know how big a ring looks in this space. But it won't matter. I'm just zooming in now to get a little more control over what it is I am trying to draw. I have kind of a floor pattern going on. Going to put a relief here, an opening. And the opening continues here. Where these things sweep up and around. Wondering if I want to do any kind of a stone treatment on this. Sure, why not? Actually, to do that, I'm going to want to do a study up here of that floor pattern. F-L-E-U-R. Yeah, I know it's going above and below. I don't need it going both places, but it's okay. I just want to work bigger for a minute and get a sense of what it is that I want from this pattern. I'm going to check my canvas size. Yeah, I thought so. This is looking awfully small. For some reason, I have a very small canvas. I am running a film capture software, which is putting demands on the system, screen capture software. I'm just going to put out a new canvas. I would like this to be 6 by 6 by 300. Thank you very much. I'll paste my drawing in here. Yeah, see, that's very small. Alright, I'll close this out. And I will bring in my mirror symmetry tool. And then I'm going to scale this up. This is more like what that should look like. I was using tiny little brushes and what have you, and I'm going, why is this the case? Edit, commit, transform. That takes it from its low resolution state to its high resolution state. Remember, whenever you transform a layer, Painter is going to take that into a low resolution state so you don't crash your computer. Each layer is the same as an entire canvas as far as memory is concerned. Alright, so this should be much better. Yeah, because I was having a hard time getting any detail. And I was zoomed in quite a ways. I would like a ridge here. Trying to decide what I would like to have happen here. In the meantime, I will bring up the other aspect. Take a look at it. You know, I'm always trying to do something interesting because, you know, the floor motif has been used, the fleur-de-lis type motif has been used so much. I think that's nice. What this allows me to do is to, like I said, do a larger scale block in of this motif so I can figure out some of these sculptural ideas. I'm not going to go crazy with it because it is a sketch. Just until I have a clear understanding of what I want to do. My client will never see this. This is for my information only. Now, I'm hoping I can fit some small 1mm stones in here. I won't know that until I get this into a more precise environment. But ideally, I would like to put some And then I've got to decide what I want to do here. I can do a single large stone, or I can do 2 smaller stones. I prefer the 2 smaller stones. Okay, so there's my sketch. Okay, as far as setting this up with prong, I'm feeling a prong here, like so. Alright, that's good enough for my intentions right now. I'm going to delete the bottom one I don't need, turn off the symmetry. I'm going to crop my canvas down. Actually, rather than do that, I'm going to actually keep this. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, so I have it, and then I will copy this out of here. Paste it into a new layer. New image, I should say. I'm going to crop that a little nicer than I have it. Cropping, you just drag a crop window, that's this tool here, becomes a pair of scissors, click, select all. I'm going to pick my image up off the canvas, turn it off, activate my canvas. I want a nice gray tone. I'm going to pick this one, select all, Control A, use my paint bucket and fill it. Control D, select none. Take my drawing layer and gel it so I can see through it. This prepares it to go into Rhino, so I have a nice gray background to work from. And then I will save this as a JPEG. And for now, I'm done with Painter. I'll just minimize it. And I'm going to move into Rhino to do a cleaner version of that. Work in my top view. Place my bitmap. Place it big. Go ahead and hide it for a minute. Draw a circle center radius, get my ring bore. I'm basically setting up the drawing so I know what the length of my ring design will be, which I'm going to be using a flow to create a maquette, much like you did with your band rings or other projects. So I'm going to offset this 2 millimeters, standard ring for a lady, offset. Push it up 0.4 millimeters. That will give me 1.6 here and 2.4 there. I actually, this is going to be a colored stone ring, so it might be a little thicker than that. I think I will offset at 2.5. And then I will move this up 0.9. See how that looks. Now, don't care for that. Alright, so I will go 2.2 and move it up. Let's see, I want it to go up to 1.6 at the bottom, so 0.6. That's pretty good. Okay, I can live with that. Need to set my seams on these curves to the bottom because it's a ring. Adjust close curve seam, quadrant, snap, boom, boom. Rebuild these to my favorite circle rebuild, which is 36.4. Allows me to just to work with it easier. So there I have it. What I need to know now is how long this curve is. It's 67.23. So I'm going to draw a straight line, that same dimension or length. I'm going to move it from its midpoint to the center, and that will be the length of my drawing, because I'm going to use that as a flow curve eventually. So now I can bring back my background bitmap. I'm going to draw a box around it, just loosely. I'm going to line that box up carefully now with the top edge of my design and the one side, and then non-uniform scale the box until it fits my design accurately. So in from that side, up from the bottom. Notice my origin point for my scaling was here, because that's the one place I didn't want to change. That's where you put your origin. For any scale command, you put your origin in the place that you don't want to change. Okay? I'm going to use an align bitmap. This big rectangle is my reference for my bitmap. So base point on bitmap, I'll use the midpoint and the midpoint. And base point on the C-plane, the reference geometry on my C-plane is this line. And that gives me my ring at scale in Rhino. Okay, I'm going to turn off my grid and begin to draw. I am drawing maquette quality lines. Oh, before I do that, I need to bring in a stone. So I'm going to go into my library. I don't know what size I need. I should check that first. So I'm going to draw a circle. Circle is a great measuring tool. Analyze diameter. Actually, I don't want that dimension. When you measure a cushion, you measure it along the flats. So I actually want a circle that represents the size of this stone along its flats. Analyze diameter. It's 5mm stone, so I have a 5mm cushion in here. Okay. Okay. The smallest square I have is a 6mm. That's okay. I'm bringing that in. Now that's interesting. Obviously there was a mistake made. Analyze diameter. Oh, it's 10mm. I hit radius. That's my mistake. Okay, good. That seemed awfully small, so that's much better. Square cushion, 10mm. Here we go. Going to rotate that cushion 45 degrees. Nice. Okay. I was hoping I had a girdle line that I could use. Not in this file, I don't. Okay, so I'll create one. Duplicate edge. Don't want that one. Join those together. So I have a representation in my drawing of the stone. And now I will do my drawing. I'm going to do a bit of a tricky thing here. I did this in class too as I was demonstrating. I'm going to draw an end line here, a barrier, and then I'm going to draw a straight line off of that using near snap running away from my shank. Going to check and see what that thickness is. It's 1.89. Okay. All right. Actually, I'll make that more of a 2 millimeter thing, so I have an actual dimension that's easy to discuss in manufacturing. So it's a 4 millimeter shank at the base, under the finger, which is pretty wide, actually. I may have to rethink that as I draw. Don't need these anymore. I just needed a distance that was accurate. I'm going to extend by arc to point. Click, grab the end, click, grab the end, click, grab the end, click, grab the end. Pull it well beyond what I needed. Explode that, take off that end piece, join it together. You'll see that it was actually 5 curves because each time I extended it created a new curve object. I'm going to rebuild this into something I can work with easily for point editing. 12 points ought to do it. I'm going to mirror it with history. I'm going to turn on the points, get a curvature graph. I am not going to belabor this. I'm just going to make it nice enough to pass muster. I'm not going to go crazy with it because it's a maquette. It's not a finished model. I really do feel like this is probably too wide, so after all that effort, I do want it to be a standard distance, so from 4 millimeters I want to take it down to 3.5, so I'm going to move this 0.25. Yeah. Notice that I selected both of these points because they are in a straight line relationship with this, which maintains smoothness. I want that smoothness so that when the ring wraps around and touches itself on the bottom, they line up in a smooth fashion. If that's confusing you, think back to our lectures on tangency and flow. 3 points in a line, 1, 2, 3. So if I move this down, turn on its points, I have 1, 2, 3 points in a straight line. Guarantees me smoothness along the bottom. I'm going to turn off my curvature graph. I'm done with that. I'm going to offset this curve. That's fine. Something like that. I'm going to rebuild it. Same point count should be good. I'm going to turn on its points. I'm going to grab all of these points and I'm going to rotate them. Point snap from here until they give me more or less what I want. Now there's a bend here that I'm not sure of yet, so I'm not going to worry about it until I have more information. But there's that. I trimmed that because I had history and updated them both. So there's the start of my shank. Okay. I'm going to come up here and draw this. I would like to have a fairly nice start here, so be careful how those line up. Going to do an offset curve. Actually, that's a pretty ugly curve, but that's alright. Record history, offset. Okay. Adjust this a little bit. Turn on, rebuild it first. Actually, that same 12, well, I'll give it a little more, 16. Should be good. Turn on my graph. Turn on my points. Sweeten it just a little bit. Not too much. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to now offset this curve without history, because I'm going to completely change what I do with it. In fact, this is going to be just as easy to do freehand. Rebuild that. I'm going to need 30 points to do that properly, at least 26 points. Turn on the curvature graph, scale it down, turn on my points, take a look. Once again, I'm not going to go crazy. This is a maquette. But if I can tidy it up a little bit, I will. I do hate sub-anchor points. I was really mostly worried about what's happening down at the ball end of the scroll. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to offset, I'm not going to offset that curve. I'm going to split this one. I'm going to do a curve perpendicular. Scroll it along here until the drawing begins to separate from my line. Do a fillet. And then I'm going to extend by arc to point. It's pretty good. I'm going to rebuild it. 22 should be fine. Turn on my graph. Turn on my points. Make a couple of adjustments. I'm happy. I'll go ahead and do a fillet set to 0 so I can clean that up. And I'm actually going to leave this as it stands. I am going to change it a little bit. I'm going to be doing an extrusion later. I know that already. So I would really like to be able to build this as a separate layer. So I'm going to extend curve by arc to point. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pull it so it stays hidden inside of that scroll. Rebuild it. That's fine. And then I'm going to offset it so that it's wider than the scroll motif on top. That's fine. And then I need to cap this off at the end before I can extrude it later. So I'll do that now. I'll do the arc tool that is start, end, direction. I just want it to clear this point. You'll see why in a couple minutes here. Okay, so I have that. I do need to draw what's going to finish this off, but I'm going to want to have both sides of this in place when I do that. So for now, that's done. I will draw this central element now. Extend by arc to point. Okay, obviously that's not really nice, but that's okay. No, it's not. It's okay, but it's not. I'm going to... I don't want to keep messing with this ball here at the end, so I'm going to split this curve and just rebuild this piece, because I can rebuild this piece with like 9 points and do what I want to do much easier. Obviously I want to be able to have this flow in here and still do what I want it to do. And I was not considering that when I drew that initial curve. That's pretty nice. That'll do anyway. Going to join these back together again and rebuild them to some really crazy high number, like 46. Maybe 40. Hit OK. Turn on my points for a second. Turn on my graph for a second. There should be a kink right in here. A little bit. Which I can fix some. That doesn't really matter. Okay. I'm going to split this curve right here, so I want to make a copy of it. And then I'll split it with this curve and extend by arc to point. Like so. I am going to rebuild this. 12 should be fine. I'm going to record history and mirror it over. Okay. This is interesting because what it tells me is my drawing is a little bit off-center in Rhino. I don't know why that would be, except we're dealing with very, very fine tolerances here. So I'm going to actually move my drawing a little bit. Or maybe I won't. You know what? I think I'll just adjust this so that it reflects on both sides the way I want it to. Make it a little wider on this point side, which will leave it a little bit narrower on the other, which achieves the same thing as shifting my drawing around. Because I do want this long swooping shape to come up. Maybe not that far. Fine. Actually shouldn't trim that yet. I'm going to offset it without history because I'm just going to change it anyway. In fact, no point. It's so different that I'll just do it by hand. Record history, mirror with history, and once again play with this. At this point I will put the graph on. Rebuild it. 410. Turn my points on. Adjust it so that it looks like it's averaging out what I want on both sides. I want to tuck this in a little bit better. Make that a little smoother. Take a look at the relationship between this inside and that outside. I like that, okay. I'll probably move these over a little bit. Okay, that's done. At this point I'm going to mirror over all of my drawing. May as well use history. Take the point off of this. Fillet this. And this. Okay, this isn't doing what I would really like it to at the bottom here, so I'm going to turn the points on. I have a little bit of a fullness that happens here. in my sketch that I like. That's fine. Oh. Hit the wrong button. Okay. Oh, don't want to do that. Okay, this is that recessed area, so I'll just fillet it like so. Go ahead and join these together. Actually, I didn't get that mirrored. Okay, I want to have a very specific kind of shape down here at the bottom. So trim this up with a fillet or two. Now I'm going to do blend curve adjustable. Play with that. I'm going to rebuild this curve. Actually, I would like this to come up a little more. Remember, by holding the shift button down, this adjusts symmetrically. I would like a little bit more of a hard angle here, so I'm going to rebuild this curve. Let's do it 11.4. I want an odd number, an uneven number, so that I can keep symmetry. If I grab these 2 points on both sides and take them in, I can get that soft point that I'm looking for. It's fine. And there is a line that goes from the end of this straight through the end of this. Okay, and a non-uniform scale. I mean, adjustable blend curve up here. That's fine as it is. Going to group this together. This is my pattern. Going to copy and paste it in, move it from its end to the center, rotate it 90 degrees, using my shift key, and there's my element in position. I'm going to obviously need to scale it, and I'm going to non-uniform scale it. Actually, I just need to basically scale it overall first, so let's bring it up. Bring it out to where I need it, which is like here, and then just scale it. See how close I can come with a regular scale. Intersect snap. I can come pretty close. Doing that. You know what? I may not mind that. I'll non-uniform scale it a little bit. Like so. And I would actually like it to tuck under this stone better, so I'll just do a regular scale here until it fits under my stone a little nicer. Okay. Alright. So now I can put in this shape that I had drawn for. Join these three pieces together. Do an offset curve. Not quite so far. Okay. Use that to trim this out. I don't want it to come to that really round point, which is okay. So I'm going to remove that part and do an extend by arc to point, if I still have it here. Mirror that across and fill it. I think I would like this to be simpler and bolder. Mirror it over. Rebuild it to 3/4. Turn on my points. Yeah, I want something more like that. Yeah. Maybe even more dramatic. It's a little too dramatic. Now that I've got that, I think I'll non-uniform scale this out a little bit. Yeah, okay, done. I'm going to fillet the ends of this shank. Going to grab all of this and mirror it over. And I have my completed drawing. I no longer need that. Okay, I want to set this up for my to be making my maquette. Just going to close that form off. Join it. I'm going to extrude this thicker than I know I'm ever going to need it. One side cap. Actually, why not? I'll do it both sides. And solid. Really hefty. Like that. Okay. And then this has a few layers to it. Okay. Yes, so I need to take a minute and sort that out. Because there are actually two forms that are going to happen here. Go ahead and join this into a closed curve. And I will move it off to the side. Actually copy it off to the side. Using grid snap so I can get it back. I'm going to do the same thing here. Because I'm going to create a one piece out of these. Trim that away, trim that away. I need this shape. to extrude for my next block of material. And I want this to be thicker. So, surface, extrude, both sides, solid, yes. Something like that. And now I need this piece brought back into position and extruded both sides. Cap option, yes. Like so. Except for I needed to extrude that with this center hole intact. Okay. There are my basics. I want to adjust. I like the relationship between these two quite a bit. I'm going to see if Rhino will be kind enough to let me union those. Thank you. I'm going to move it down now. I think it's a little too much of a jump up from there. I like that. I'm going to group these for now. Mirror them over to the other side. Group. Mirror. Okay. So now I am ready to start doing my flow. Make that center line back into the blue layer for flowing. Turn off my curves. Bring back my grid. Right C-plane so I can rotate this up into position, into 3D space. Record history, wireframe, and I will start. Well, I'll grab them all. Why not? Transform flow along curve. This equals that. Okay. And I want to see what I've got. I want to bring this down until the top of this lines up with the outside surface of my ring, which should be about there. Obviously, history didn't take. Fine. Well, rather than do it this way, I will just flow it again from this in this position. Record history. Flow along curve. Take a look, see what I think. That looks pretty good. Let's see how it looks with the stone in position. Going to move the stone up until the culet rests at about the finger. Okay, I'd like it to be a little higher up. Yeah, that's pretty good. Hide those. Union. Well, first I have to make. I'm going to take out. There's a cap in the end of each one of these that I'm going to remove so I can join those together. join them, and then I'll union all of that together. And then I will Boolean difference the ring bore out. Now, I would like to have reference of how what 1 millimeter up the front of this would look like, because I may want to put in an airline in my drawing in Painter. So I'm going to do an offset of this ring bore 1 millimeter up. Where to go? Oh, my bad. Actually, I have to do that from the front. Oh, from the front seaplane. That should have worked fine. Offset. Oh, it's in orange. That's why I didn't see it. And project that curve onto my mesh. I only want the outside of it, so I'm going to explode it, deselect the curves on the outside, and then hit delete for the rest. And you'll see now I have a little curve running along the front of this at 1 millimeter. Join those together. Done with that. Okay, the next thing I need to maquette is a setting for my stone. The easiest way to do that, I'm going to solid extract surface, copy S, surface offset 0.9, delete that. I'm going to come into the side view. It's really important that this is not visible from the top. So I'm going to give myself a couple of reference curves. Okay, where this curve breaks the outside edge of this is as high as it can go. If it comes up any further, it's going to be outside of that curve, and I'm going to see it from the top. Anything below there is fine. It's an under bezel that I'm drawing for, so I want about 1/3 of the pavilion of the stone. So actually I'm going to bring it down even a little bit more than that, not much. I'm going to do a cutting plane. To cut the top of this off. I'm going to move that cutting plane down in the front view to cut the bottom of that off. Cap planar holes. And then do a Boolean difference to get the ring bore cut out of it. Now this is by no means accurate, okay? It is not a nice setting of any kind. It's just to give me information in my maquette. Once again, I will offset a curve 1 millimeter here and project it onto this object. And I will take a line from the edge here, move it down 1 millimeter, and do a cross section. To give me another line. That's where my finger rest and under bezel would be in real life. Group those together. I would fillet the edge of that thing off So solid fillet edge. I'd fillet edge at 0.45. Just because it'll give me a more realistic thing to look at. And now I need to put in prongs. I wanted the prongs to come in where? Okay, right at the edge of the rim. All right. So, solid sphere, center radius, near snap, no project, grab my girdle, come into here. It's actually going to go right at the quadrants of the stone, so right at the end of that facet. 1.2. Let's take a look at that. It could be bigger. 1.3. Could be bigger. 1.4. That's fine. Going to polar array that because it's the fastest way to make 4 of them. Okay. Now to get a good drawing of this, I need to have this all Boolean together. Otherwise, Rhino's going to get lost where things intersect. So, I'm going to union the stone and the prongs. And the stone in its setting. And the shank in the setting. Going to grab all of it and group it together. And I'll put it all in the same layer. Just to keep my life easy. And that is done. That's the maquette for this piece. I'm going to pause here. Thanks for watching.